Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a good old Amateur's Mind episode. I haven't recorded one of these for a long time, so I thought it was time to get back to refreshing what's going through the amateur's mind and how we could fix it. Today's topic is going to revolve around the big question of who is attacking whom and who should be scared of what, because this is very often misunderstood on club level, and in fact lots of games are very heavily influenced by absolute misunderstanding of who should be scared of what is really what it is. So we have got a Slav exchange on our hands, and very soon this game is going to get out of hands when white decides to apply the good old bunny ears, one on one side, closely followed by another one on the other side. Now, when we are playing a game of chess, every time we play moves and our opponents play moves, we should be aware of their relative value. So when this lands on your board, you should immediately, it should register in your head, without any disrespect towards your opponent, that that's a lemon, and that should be treated as such in your head when you're calculating and assessing the positions. So this move is just a lemon, that's it. It's a waste of space, a waste of time, waste of everything. And it should be that clear. And not only should it be that clear, but it should be that clear irrespective of your opponent being a 1700 player or a 1000 rated player, as the case is in this game, or it's Magnus Carlsen. And I really do mean it. Like, just because of someone with higher authority plays a rubbish move, it doesn't actually increase the value of the move. So this is the first step when we need to know, or rather take notice that, okay, this is rubbish. Having said that, the next step to it is that more often than not you find that the best refutation to silly stuff is to carry on with what we would have done otherwise anyway, which is development center. So bishop f5, perfect. Bishop g5, e6, perfect move. a3, complete lemon. And now, having received 2 lemons in a row, we are beginning to think that, am I ready to actually punish it? Or not quite yet? And more or less the correct answer is that no, we can't. But this is the time when we need to change, or rather we need to shift gears and try to take the initiative instantaneously. And the most obvious response to that is h6. It's always a good move, by the way, to chuck this in when we can sort of ask a question about this bishop. Where are you going, bro? Because it's quite annoying, really, to receive this move, because this is a pleasant bishop to have. It creates a pin, blah blah blah. Now we have to make up our mind. Do we take? Do we maintain the pin? Do we get back home? And obviously we don't want to take, because that would give up a bishop for a knight. That being said, considering the circumstances, this would be best. Going back, of course, would be a failure, because then we donated a move to black, which is h6, which admittedly does have its benefits. We just wouldn't want to waste a whole entire move on this, but now it looks all good. Whereas bishop h4 would actually yield us what really wanted to get out of this, and that is a very quick expansion in the king side, followed by chucking this knight in the center. Now, almost exclusively players from rated 0 to all the way up to 1800 would immediately knock back this to me when I propose this idea with the, where am I going to castle? To which I'm always baffled to this question, because A, who cares? And 2, it is this very, it's a selfish way of thinking, really, because we're thinking about, oh my god, what's going to happen to my king? And we never tend to look over there and go like, yeah, but what's going to happen to their king? Which is kind of more important if we are the ones dictating the pace of the game and taking the initiative. Where we like castle, I don't know. Do I care? Not at all, because right now we have got more important things on the agenda. The kings actually, in terms of relative safety, are more or less equal, although this king is significantly more trouble than mine, simply because of the lack of development on the king side, on the white side. And on top of that, knight e4 did come with a big fat tempo, meaning that now this bishop is in a bit of a trouble, and pawn takes immediately gains a pawn. Not that I am famously known for being a big pawn grabber, but when I can pick up a cherry like this in the center, I would conclude this as a decisive advantage. I mean, let's face it, how many moves we are up to? 10, 11, and black is a pawn up and better developed, I will take that any day of the week. Thank you very much. If the bishop drops back, I can continue developing. Rook c8, queen b6, and the whole entire position just plays itself. And once again, talking about the topic of, actually, funnily enough, the only way to defend this is now rook a2. And this is where I would go like, I rest my case, because black is way better. And let's talk about castling. Where will the white king go here? I don't think so. Here, really, into this attack? I don't think so either. And in fact, white will be very happy to even think about being able to castle. That's still 3 moves away. So that's not a reality, and consequently, this is not a weakness, it's a strength. All it has achieved was that now we have got yet another very powerful threat to gain further space on the king's side. The king is very reluctant to castle there because it's tremendous trouble, and black has got no issues whatsoever with his king. So here, we needed to take the initiative, and we needed to recognize the fact that aggression here on the king's side, although looks a little bit comical, actually only brings benefits to the position. And a lot of people misunderstand and misevaluate this, and I would like to emphasize the fact that it is all the more powerful because of the tremendous lemon chucked in early on in the game, because if it hadn't been played, then after bishop g3, knight e4, knight e4 wouldn't come with the tempo. So if this pawn were back here, then white could simply play e3 and continue developing, but now e3 is essentially a suicide because now this pawn is just dead. And e3 is very, very weak as well. So overall, this was a great opportunity for black to grab the initiative, to seize the momentum that was given and handed to black by these ridiculous bunny ears. Alright, so now the game takes a very different direction in a couple of seconds, because now white has completed his development too, all fine and dandy. The position is roughly in balance. Black should have played here rook c8 or rook c8, queen b6. These are moves that look logical in the position. They played knight h5. I really dislike this because we don't like a knight on the edge, and also out of the 2 bishops that white had, obviously the d1 is the one that they wanted to keep. Anyway, no biggie, really, it's all good. And then comes this g4, and when I saw it, I'm like, okay, this is interesting, because as soon as I see this, my attention goes to this, which is the exact reverse of what we have seen before. Why is that? I tell you why. Because after knight f6, all I am seeing is that white just randomly lunged forward on the king's side against a king that has been somewhat weakened, but it's not really a realistic target. Whereas this, a king that is stuck in the middle against a fully developed army. If I was black here, I would be already itching to have a go at this opponent with e5, crack the position open and attack the king. This attack is very unjustified, and as such, I can hardly even call it an attack. It's a dream. I mean, after knight f6, white actually must play f4 to rectify the situation, because any other case, e5, and again, black seizes the initiative. And so consequently, yeah, here it's very clearly white who has to take extra caution and care in order to not to get under attack. Having said that, by now, the black player's mindset is, oh my god, this attack is going to wipe me off the board. And that is actually the mindset that he carries on now for a fair few moves, being completely oblivious to very basic things, which really everyone should ask from themselves when facing an attack like this. And here we need to refer back to our basic knowledge of what is required to conduct a successful attack on the wing. Well, let's go through it. First of all, our king's safety. Our king is definitely not safe. Let me flip it around for you. Our king is stuck in the middle. It is not yet ready to castle the other way. Obviously, castling here is suicide, and the center is about to explode. We are not safe by any means. We need a weakened kingside on the other side. We can claim that this has been weakened because by the pawn moving up here is somewhat closer to white, and so when I push the pawn up to the 5th, the pawns are already attacking one another. So we could claim that, yeah, okay, we have a somewhat weakened king. 3, majority, piece majority on the side where we are attacking, meaning we have more stuff on the king side than they do. We have more attackers than they have defenders. Not the case again, all the white minor pieces are on the queen side, although this one is ideally placed and I will count it as an attacker, but that's it. No one else is ready to join the party. So the overall conclusion is that at very best, this is a bluff. And yet, look at Black's response. Instant surrender of pieces. And this is another very, very handy piece of wisdom that I keep on telling my students, and they keep on repeating this mistake just so that they can give me the opportunity to again repeat the piece of wisdom. Anytime you are going back, you are doing something wrong. And of course, there are many a time in a chess game where going back is the only way to do, and it's actually justified and fully warranted. And yet, anytime I say it in regards to a comment about a move, it seems to be on the money 100 times out of 100. You go back, you do something very, very silly. First and foremost, the move doesn't serve any apparent purpose. Secondly, it moves the pieces away from the center instead of towards it. And last but not at least, we are scared and we are responding to something that doesn't exist. What should be done instead? Once again, what would chess principles indicate we should do? Attack on the wing, counterpunch in the center. Bang, e5. Yes, but what if g5? What if g5? Oh, we are going to lose the d5 pawn. So what? And this is another typical mindset issue that a lot of club players cannot possibly overarch or overcome, is that they stop here. They don't calculate anymore. Now it has to go, I lose d5, game over. Which is essentially right, except the outcome will be the exact opposite. Because once again, after queen d6, time to take stock. The kingside attack has completely been stopped. The white king is even more exposed than ever before. We have a knight hanging on d5, and e takes d4 is about to crack the whole entire middle totally open onto the white king, which is the #1 target in this position, and from here on till the end of the game. Thank you very much. All we needed to do was to calculate and move further than where we stopped, and all of a sudden the assessment turns around entirely. Very, very, very typical case of amateur's chess. Oh my god, and I'm getting attacked. Let's go back. Instead of, nah, instant counterpunch in the center. And grabbing the initiative right there and then. And there's nothing scary about it. This is really the safest way to play chess. This is extremely scary because this actually warrants the attack, and it gives free hand to white to do whatever they want to do. Ironically, even here, white's best way to actually conduct the attack is to play f4, which is purely to still hold e5 back. Remarkable stuff. Instead, h5 was played, g5 pushed past, and at this point, yes, queen c2 was played, forcing black to play a correct move, which is knight f6. And now again we are back on track, so we realize now how silly it was. They actually forced us to go back, and now the kingside attack again is not going anywhere. h6 is always met by g6. And so white ran out of steam here, and he should have realized it and either castled or queen e2 to defend the pawn. Instead they played f3, still paying no respect to the fact that the king is in the middle. And now finally black actually chose to play the correct move, e5, which again immediately hands over the initiative. White totally collapsed under the pressure, and instead of castling away, kept the king even further on in the middle. And now after rook e8, e4, black could choose among lots and lots and lots of winning ideas. The most simplistic one is actually what happened in the game, and here black could have finished it off with this beautiful tactics of knight takes here. And after queen takes, although queen takes e4 does win, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that queen d4 is a beautiful move, cutting off both castles, thereby making rook takes e4 unstoppable, but also keeping the queens on the board, because this is still hard labor to win. It's a very, very winning endgame, but why would you do that when you can just go for a mate attack and trying to win the enemy queen almost instantly? This, however, wasn't played. Instead, we played rook d8, which was very, very poor considering what we could have done. But again, white responded poorly by castles. The only way to stay alive for a little bit longer would have been castling here, because the king is still very exposed on c1. And after queen f4 check, king b1. Yeah, knight e4, rook, bishop takes, rook takes. Black went on to win a piece and win the game. However, this is not over till it's over, because after rook f1, rook e2, queen g1, something very interesting happened. In this position, black obviously is a piece up and is totally winning literally with every single move on the board. They played queen h2, to which white resigned. And I found this extremely fascinating, this whole entire mental exchange of, I trade queens, I'm a piece up, I'm gonna beat you. And white goes, right, I shall surrender, you won. Which is, I find it very comical, because if we really look at the position, we realize that the white pieces have never been really as passive as right now in the whole entire course of the game. And considering that this king is really weak, we are madly and desperately on the lookout for an instant kill. And it's very annoying that we have no checks here and here which would allow us to penetrate and win, but that's no reason for us to actually give up on finding very powerful finish-off moves. And here I again will bring in my favorite principles of checks, captures, threats. No checks, no good captures. Well, how about if I create a mate threat down here? How about if I now create a mate threat down here? And now how about if I create a mate threat down here? Instant knockout. All I needed to do was to respect the power of my pieces versus the utter disability of the white pieces that could not do a single thing in order to prevent these otherwise very simplistic mate in one caveman style attacks. So it's always very, very important to be able to understand who is in the attack, who is conducting something dangerous like this, and what its real value is, versus what is the real value of another attack like so, that is actually looking quite scary, but in fact is a total lemon. And always your guidelines are basic chess principles: relative, king safety, development, central tension, the usual that I actually elaborated on hopefully quite well in this video. So I hope that you guys took away something valuable from this one as well. I think that I touched upon a topic that comes up a lot on club level, and so I hope that this video is going to prove to be useful. Thanks for watching. Bye.